You're retro trekking with the Caramel Apples, a podcast that dials up thoughtful, heartwarming nostalgia of all things great and retro in the golden era of pop culture and beyond. I'm Kennedy Rizzo.
And I'm Cooper Lee.
We are shameless Gen Xer super fans of the iconic 70s and 80s, where from a front row seat perspective, those awesome decades were full of weird and wonderful fads, trends, and crazes gone far too soon. Each week we handpick and dissect the intriguing gems that enriched a bygone era and discuss how these cherished past elements impacted us with all of its memorable feel goods then into how it shaped the now current view of the known world. Join us in the orchard this week as we deep dive our fond memories of lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Kennedy. I am completely ready for our Orchard Trek Retro this week.
Oh, me too.
You know, as we prepare to deep dive into a most fabulous, nostalgic pop culture mainstay from back in the 80s. And that is in remembering all that was crazy cool and exciting surrounding the sheer opulence shown in lifestyles of the rich and famous. So what say you again?
Well, I say that Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was the absolute shiznick. Yeah, that memorable throwback was quite intoxicating whenever we got the chance to catch it.
Oh, it just was on another level, wasn't
It
it?
was.
There was TV and then there was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into it, but like seriously, like there was something eerily hypnotic about the way they presented that program.
It was so cool.
But before we get into our fascinating topic this week, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you'd like to check out some of our other fascinating retro episodes, you can find them on YouTube or right here at the sweet spot on Retro Trek with the Caramel Apples podcast. Okay. Well, the 80s were all about sophistication, abundance, and wealth. Fewer people were walking examples of what this show encompassed. So the draw and appeal of living the dream, living the good life was so heavily promoted back in the 80s and became the standing thumbprint symbol of one having had arrived in life.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about hashtag goals.
You sure said it, Kennard. You brought it up to today, but yes, it was definitely hashtag goals even then. We jest, but hashtag goals in regards to what the average Joe back then was trying to achieve was somewhat of a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Even heavily promoted and showcased in so many of the show, music, movie offerings in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Living and loving the high life, jet setting here and there or across the world reigned supreme, only to stay in a castle in Scotland or Ireland while sipping needy champagne. It was the business show.
Oh, Coop, no, you didn't go there. Literally, did you just say reunity?
Reunity.
Jeez, talk about nostalgia.
Yeah. Go away, kitty.
Man, I still remember those commercials as young ones and wanting and visualizing sipping that champagne while hanging out at the polo match or some exclusive island beach with your yuppie friends.
Oh my goodness, that's insane.
I mean, after all, the 80s was touted as the greed decade.
Ah, yes.
Hashtag goals was the very message in essence suggested within Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, that's good to hear. How about you, Orchard Archivers? Are you with us? Are you here?
They better be. Well, that was a nice appetizing precursor to our deep dive into lifestyles of the rich and famous this week. So let's get started, shall we?
Oh, I'm ready.
Me too.
This is going to be such an exciting, nostalgic discussion this week. I'm getting all wistful and stifling goosebumps anticipating the fond memories of the show. So, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is an American television series that aired in syndication from 1984 to 1995. As we briefly mentioned, the show featured the extravagant lifestyles of wealthy entertainers, athletes, socialites, and magnates.
That's correct. It was hosted by Robin Leach for the majority of its run. Fun fact, in 1994, can you recall when Robin Leach was joined by Sherry Belafonte as
Hmm.
co-host? The
No,
show.
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I don't.
Yeah. So the show was renamed Lifestyles with Robin Leach and Sherry Belafonte.
Robin Leach, she was not, I'm sure. But I do remember who Sherry Belafonte is, and she was truly a classic 80s beauty. But I really don't recall watching this series with her hosting. But really, she would have the face, elegance, and presence needed to drive lifestyles of the rich and famous. So there's that.
Yeah, agreed. Robin Leach infamously ended each episode with a wish for his viewers that became his signature catchphrase, which was champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
Oh,
I so love this show.
oh yeah, caviar and Riuniti champagne, por favor.
Woo! 80s
Yeah,
highlight.
that went nuts, didn't it?
It was.
The lifestyles of the rich and famous provided an interesting perspective to be able to have a look inside the opulent homes and daily lives of prominent celebrities, big business moguls, and other powerful people. Before there was MTV Cribs, Coop, there was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Oh, yeah, totally. And Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was one of the first shows to feature the lives of the wealthy, as you
Yep.
mentioned.
Yep. Hmm.
And later shows, such as MTV's MTV Cribs, continued that trend. And the show was literally bait, in order to regularly and covertly poke the bear, if you will.
That's cruel.
I know. Largely intended to be, insight into the opulent residences and the glamorous lifestyles of those it profiled.
Hmm.
So there was definitely the quote unquote, I want to be over there hanging with the cool kids vibe, right? It
Yes.
totally, it was written all over it. That was the promoted, um, it was the promotion factor.
Yes. Yes.
However, many of the geographic areas it covered were ideal destinations for vacations. So, in his on camera appearances, Robin Leach indirectly made references to resorts and tourist attractions.
That's interesting, Coop. And it's crazy. Like right now, this is crazy. Just a side note that our younger brother is right now dipping his toes in the blue waters of a nice vacation spot.
Yes.
That thing ain't even in the country right now. He's a mess.
Yeah, he's totally living it up. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
I wonder if he got his hands on some Reuniti. I'm just kidding. Pu.
I know.
But concerning the Cribs reference and connection with lifestyles of the rich and famous, perhaps the true draw and allure of it was the realization of those who could and did achieve the unattainable. Those high rollers that were showcasing the look at what you could achieve type of opulence if you worked hard enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, it was just simply mesmerizing.
Yeah, I know, right? I think it was just a Grey Poupon moment. but But lifestyles of the rich and famous had the class and grace that Cribs did not have, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was different.
It was. Cribs had that new I don't know what to do with all this money vibe.
Mhm.
you, which is really common and we see much more prevalent in modern media nowadays.
You do.
Rappers whose names pop up now and we go, who? Right? Yes. The influencers, social media stars, and other new money who claim by their ostentatious assets accrued that they're living large.
Yeah, and two, another brief reference on this show, Cribs on MTV. It was that being wealthy and rich is far more watered down and far different than what lifestyles of the rich and famous showcased.
Sure.
I don't know. It's just, I think this is with a lot of stuff now versus then. I mean, like, I don't know. There was a certain movie Coop and I were just talking about, like, we were asking each other, are we going to go see it? And it's a big retro theme.
Yeah.
And neither one of us have any interest in seeing it because it doesn't feel like what we grew up with. It just seems like it's completely far removed from what they're trying to promote.
Yeah. And it's a big fat goose egg on wanting to see it.
Yeah, same here.
Zero interest.
So like this, feel of opulence, old money and that kind of thing, lifestyles was completely different than what we see today, although it's all around us now. I don't know.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
But lifestyles was so elegant and special in a way. Now we have what we have, and it's, as we just said, it's lost its exclusive flavor, more or less.
Yeah.
And plus now we're adults. So, I mean, everything's at our fingertips. So extreme wealth doesn't impress us as much as it makes me wonder why these people try so hard. Like they will kill themselves trying to get to something they're not supposed to get.
Yeah. Like it literally is over there. So why are you bothering?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's madness, really.
Yeah. So, I have a couple of fun facts to share.
Okay.
Fun fact number one. Did you know that Lifestyles was created by Al Massini, um, who had also created other notable retro gems such as Solid Gold,
Mm,
Entertainment Tonight,
mm.
and Star Search?
That is so interesting. And we did a whole episode on the OG talent show there of Star Search.
True that, Kennedy. We sure did. And if you or your archivers haven't yet embarked on that Trek retro, by all means, please push play. Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, back on topic. Uh, we like to do that.
Oh,
We
yes.
will
Off road all the time.
all the time. It's so much fun. Uh, so all these were part of the Operation Primetime project, which he later renamed Television Program Enterprises and later merged with Riser Entertainment to form Riser TPE. Though neither Solid Gold nor Entertainment Tonight were either syndicated by TPE or Riser.
Okay.
All four programs were now owned by CBS Media Ventures.
That's interesting. What's the other fun fact you got, Coop?
Okay, great. Number two. Fun fact number two. Sorry. We are a clean show. David Greenspan, aka David Perry, was the voiceover narrator for most of the segments during the bulk of the show's run and could be heard whenever Robin Leach did not appear on camera.
Mhm.
Made more direct references to such resorts and such tourist attractions.
Oh my goodness. I just love the things we discover or remind ourselves of each week as we look deep into our retro topics.
Yeah.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous is no exception. Now, one of the emotional drivers of this series, at least for myself, was hearing that signature theme song. I don't know, that theme song. It was titled Come With Me Now. That it was composed and performed by Bill Conti and is originally from a 1978 film called 5 Days from Home, lyrics by Norman Gimbel. See, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Never had I heard of this particular film, so like this song come from that, but it is synonymous for you and I, two lifestyles of the rich and famous.
And that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah.
Because for other people to hear it, if they did know this movie, they're probably like, oh, wow, they're using this theme for this show. And like
Yeah.
for us, like you said, that is the only way we have any reference to this song is to
Yeah.
lifestyles. So that is bananas. I
Yes,
love
it is.
it.
No, caramel apples.
Yes, caramel apples.
Get it straight.
So, fun fact, did you know that that is the theme song, Come With Me Now, had also been used as one of the theme songs for local morning program, AM Los Angeles on KABC TV?
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, but Kennedy, no matter how many other media entities it was connected with, this amazing, intoxicating theme song is super synonymous, as you've already stated, to lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Oh, hashtag facts.
So Kennard and myself actually talk a little bit more about composer Bill Conti's memorable contribution to media and film by compiling ethereal, enchanting soundtracks for the many works from back when. We sang his praises for his compositions, including, The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
So to hear a little more on Mr. Bill Conti and his lovely work, check out that episode. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff.
Indeed, it is, Cooper. That was really one of the driving points of this retro gym for myself.
Mhm.
I loved, loved, loved that theme song.
Yeah.
It was just lovely, amazing. And just talking about that, that's one of the cornerstones of this whole program. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Now, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous' chosen theme song wonderfully matched in a delightfully visual way as well.
Yeah. Absolutely exquisite displays of opulent flash and flare.
Indeed, Coop. But now we're going to briefly discuss the underlying elephant in the room situation that accompanied the initial fascination of what Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous consisted of.
Yes. So this enticing show introduced a peep into what living the high life back in the 80s might entail. And every Joe Schmo, his mother and brother wanted to experience, and taste this life.
Uh huh.
It definitely highlighted the raw distinction of the haves and the have nots. Just saying. And Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was a bitter lens into the excess, waste, and overconsumption versus abject poverty, survival, and uncertainty.
So true. This, as you just described, Coop, was truly felt by so many people back in the 80s. Here striving to be a yuppie, if you will, was shamelessly sought after. When now we have the other side of the coin, folks languishing financially, working their fingers to the bone just to put food on the table and keep a roof over their families' heads.
Yeah, this movement is quite profound, Kennard.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s and 80s, in a time of abject poverty and job losses, a perception that the gap between the wealthy and those of more humble means continue to widen.
My goodness. Are we ever seeing this now?
We certainly are. Homelessness.
Can we say tent cities we're seeing and hearing popping up at every major city at an alarming rate?
Totally. Lifestyles of the rich and famous represents, in the opinion of many, the epitome of fluff, prodigality, and overall lack of awareness and concern for those who struggle to obtain the most basic of necessities, needed for survival.
Yeah. And this is the flip side perspective and raw reality of the situation at large when peeking over the proverbial fence into the opulence and aristocracy possessed by the mega wealthy versus the humble existence more widely experienced by the average Joe and Jane of Main Street. The stark contrast of these two different, varied experiences was both highlighted and felt when viewers tuned into Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah.
So, although this show was fun to watch, it was essentially programming designed just to do that. And that was to awaken fascination, competition, as well as envy if one was so inclined.
I think you mentioned just a moment ago, calling the staging of wealth to come right in on Main Street through, television screens, a movement.
Mm-hmm.
That really is a fitting description because without that, just how many of us would have been able to tour elegant and grace, possessed in majestic castles in Scotland and Ireland, and visiting mansions of some of the old money,
Yeah.
big time aristocrat and Hollywood celebrities of yesteryear, or uh, getting a window into the entertainers, athletes, or big business moguls of the time.
Yeah, which is what we're seeing more of the newer wealth aspect of an era now in current times. Shows like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous really gave rise to the big money players more on that platform of what you just described there, Coop.
Mm.
We think of big time, big business moguls like Gates, Bezos, Branson, and so
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah,
that show off their lavish homes, super yachts, private jets, and fancy office spaces.
totally. These types of opulent examples dominate our culture, and we see it often all throughout media. So, back to Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous episodes, there were a few other examples of the excess that we got to peer into while admiring their lives.
Okay.
So, I remember one such example where a high roller socialite had a fancy work of art, a painting that was actually done in the 1800s.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it had a value of, get this, Kennard, $5 million.
Oof.
Yeah, a painting worth $5 million. Now, that's six zeros behind that five for a very old painting.
Oh, that is simply amazing, Coop.
I know, right? And it instantly makes me think of numerous real world scenarios on the flip side of this, where there are like inner city communities here in the States that are so impoverished that entire neighborhoods aren't even worth collectively what that $5 million painting alone costs.
That's very eye opening.
Yeah.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. If this episode entertained you, please share it. Spread the word. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. Now, back to the show. That's very eye opening. Oh, we spoke of that wealth gap contrast that exists between the haves and the have nots.
Yeah.
It's a crying shame, too. But it still amazingly didn't dampen the spirit or fascination of how the haves, and I got that in air quotes, yeah, how the haves live, which is why Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous worked. But Coop, think of how many hungry children and families could benefit and be fed with that kind of money that a $5 million painting costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, hence the fascination of having a curious lens into how and what eccentric things the filthy rich spent their money on. Food to feed the hungry versus I have the money and won the highest bid on this old multi-million-dollar painting. Wow, isn't capitalism grand?
And the comfortably rich continue to tease and bait and entertain the masses with their unique financial leverage. You Orchard archivers may remember well, some of these specific examples were referencing from the lifestyles of the rich and famous. But for our discussion this week, we'll only speak in brief generalizations in order to protect pointing fingers at certain specific individuals.
Yes, very
You know,
safe to do
yeah,
that.
the Caramel Apples podcast is a judgment free zone. So nothing but fun and entertainment along any retro topic, situation, or individuals discussed.
I mean, that's the least we could do.
Right?
And you're welcome. So back to our show though, in regards to lifestyles of the rich and famous, we'd really see things one possess that literally made your jaw drop. We think of underground wine cellars as big as three city blocks. Yeah, multi-room mansions or homes. Some of the big mansions boast like 19 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms type of deal.
Oh my goodness. Oh, right. I know, right? Um, some of them even had rooms in their homes they don't use or even remember they had. Bruce Wayne, n'est-ce pas?
I love that scene in Batman. That's great.
I know. Of course, any reference to 89 Batman.
Yes, it's such an appropriate reference there, Cooper. I mean, Bruce Wayne classically depicted that old school aristocratic state of being.
Yeah,
So, that view and angle of old money, I find that very fascinating.
it really is. It's this type of class or wealth of the, as you stated, the Bruce Wayne caliber that was what was more solidly portrayed in lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Yes, it was.
Money seemed a world away, and those who possessed it was crazy, calm, cool, and aloof about all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. It really is so different nowadays with all of this so-called new money popping onto the scene.
Yes. And it's apparent that they have the money and clout. After all, they blasted from the mountaintops about their golden status. But simply, new money is quite distinct from what was showcased in our show this week, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah.
And because of that, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was always a cut above the rest, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So, again, I prefer old money. I'm sorry.
I know it's kind of like one of those things you can just tell they're comfortable with it. They're just comfortable in their life.
Yeah,
Like they didn't feel like they had to put on airs or act a certain way because that's just all they ever knew.
that's right.
So they were being genuine. This is us. We just
Yeah,
are rich.
they, they, they were just running around trying to find Grey Poupon for their ham sandwich.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course, Grey Poupon.
That was the tragedy, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yes. So, no need to be sorry. I feel similar on that. It's just so different. And I miss those days.
Yeah.
The wealth staged back in the 80s and on lifestyles of the rich and famous felt a world away and so intriguing. Folks having this sort of opulence as a lifestyle, were generally older, seasoned, and matured people who were driving their Rolls Royces or, being driven around in them and such.
There we go.
Yeah, and they predictably had a butler, driver for that Rolls, and they showed you their fifth exceptionally decorated dining room, if you will, with this exquisite chandelier.
Yeah. Alfred, we're looking at you.
Or Mr. Belvedere.
Yes, him too. Yeah. A chandelier that easily costs more than our vehicles or homes here on Main Street. Then there are, and you hear about gold bathroom fixtures. I think that right there, that seems more like a new money generation type of spending.
Mm,
Yeah, then a fleet of fancy automobiles and supercars.
yes, yes.
Having more cars than drivers. That even includes the help.
Yes.
We got Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bentleys. We're talking going all out like David Beckham. Oh, yes, and I'll say no more. I think dude had like 14 Ferraris back a few years ago. Like he collected them.
What?
Yes.
And we're not talking about the ones that are sitting on the library shelf, right? Like we're talking about the ones you can actually get it and move. That is insane.
Yeah, no Hot Wheels here. But Coop, this was what one with this kind of life and money looks like. That's what this is. And This is like a typical nothing burger in the day in the life of, whoever, XYZ.
Yeah,
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous brilliantly showcase this opulence.
it really did. I mean, we can't state that enough. And although David Beckham wasn't showcased on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, his fame and fortune was showcased on another updated version of what we're talking about later on in the late 90s and early aughts on an updated copycat type program that came on VH1.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't it called The Fabulous Life of, and then fill in the featured celebrity?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
That show was vibe. I remember watching that one. Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. But
Ooh.
it had a more modern today type feel with that. And it was it fit the times. It was trendy, it was edgy, but it still expressed the message of abundance and class.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it was vibe, but it had an entirely different feel to it versus Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous and the people's wealth that they displayed on there. But make no mistake that it was the OG show of all aristocracy and opulence revealed in Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous that is responsible for all of the knockoffs and copycat type shows we've made mention of all throughout our episode this week.
So I have to do it because
Oh no!
we've already referenced Batman, so I can do a later version of Batman. We just
Okay.
said the word responsible.
Oh.
They were responsible. So anyway, okay. So that was definitely not our Michael Keaton Batman. Anyway, moving on. And outside of the fabulous theme song that got our excitement going, we still were taken on these exciting tours of the wealthy by our host Robin Leach.
Oh yeah.
He would hobnob to the rich and famous, engaging in polite conversation while they sip champagne, ate caviar, and imported cheese.
We're jealous.
Yes, yes. So this conversation purportedly provided insight in how the featured celebrity or mogul became wealthy. Watching Robin Leach converse with these ones provided a window into the haves' seemingly untouchable existence in order for the have-nots to mercilessly drool by way of lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Oh my goodness, so true. All of a sudden, my mind queued up the beginning of the Body Boy song, How We Roll, where from the very start, it mentions the reference of champagne and caviar.
Champagne caviar.
Nice reference.
Oh, yeah, they were cool.
They were cool.
But this one is where the glaring discrepancy lies for those who do not have this type of wealth. And this group includes the majority of humans on this spinning rock. So, for those who cannot afford this type of lifestyle, we are supposed to think of and look at this opulence and be happy for them because they can live like this. This has been a rafter in the eye of poor folks or middle class folks forever.
Yeah. Can we say Marie Antoinette?
Exactly. If you really take a step back and look at the situation, you can tell that this is all planned and crafted by design by the powers that be. It's just a fact of reality that is more and more apparent with each passing year.
This is true. So there's always a dark underbelly of what's going on around the world. This is a stark look into the financial sector, the extreme inequity and distribution of resources versus extreme overconsumption.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a statement of envy or anything like that. It's just, again, the raw reality of the situation at hand. And, most people don't have money to burn. Big business moguls, celebrities, politicians, etc., are on the rare end of the spectrum, and their wealth is like bait that dangles in the faces that have the have-nots, to evoke a reaction.
You said it earlier, and it bears repeating, like Marie Antoinette.
There it is. That's actual history. So case closed.
Yeah. I mean, this concept is so interesting to ponder on, and it shows like the lifestyles of the rich and famous that really brought this concept to the fore. So we've gotten a bit off road on all of this, so
Yeah, so rein it back in, Kennard.
yeah, I know, I hear you. So the show was about much more than profiling ultra rich celebrities. It also introduces us to many upscale locations and hotspots around the world.
Yeah, we get to see castles, high-end hotels, resorts, and spas.
Yep.
The elite enclaves of the wealthy, exclusive neighborhoods. The Michelin star restaurants, enticing folks to come hither with their exquisite cuisine. So, all of this was to show how one can live when you have money, lots of money. So, lifestyles of the rich and famous provided valuable information and intel when a family wants to plan a once in a lifetime type of vacation and experience the good life. Well, nowadays, really, if they want to just go to Disney World, it might be high dollar, like you want to go to Europe or whatever. It's like, my
I
goodness,
know.
it's kind of crazy.
It is crazy.
It's like you're going with little children that all they'll have is memories. They'll look back at pictures. Okay, so anyway, reining it back in. So look no further than to these shows, and you may have yourself a ticket to a lifetime experience of unadulterated fun.
If even for a little while.
Yeah.
It's really not too hard to access these days if you have a bit of imagination, savvy, and sheer will and drive.
Yeah, and a little bit of cash would definitely help along the way too.
Hashtag facts.
That detail.
Yeah. But Cooper, even though we are past lifestyles of the rich and famous's heyday, it is still pretty cool to sit back and witness the wild adventures of others who are deeply grounded in this golden realm and enjoy it on a budget, living vicariously through them.
Yeah.
They're doing all of the hard work while we're organically sitting back and being entertained.
Yeah. It's easy to think of lifestyles of the rich and famous as a product of the 80s,
Hmm.
but let's face it, so many more people now follow the lifestyles of the rich and famous type adventures on more mainstream avenues such as social media, reality TV, blogging, vlogging, etc. Wow, times really have changed from back when lifestyles was a front row to all things flash and flare, showcasing the untouchable world of the rich.
Yeah. So again, pair this fabulousness with the theme music, a most memorable and nostalgic host, as well as with the chosen showcased offerings, and we really witness TV ratings gold. As we've mentioned before, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous definitely had its good points. That opening theme musically evoked that you're going on vacation, the ride of your life adventure, the
Yes.
minute that theme song started playing.
Yes.
The opening theme music by Bill Conti was absolutely primo.
Yep.
It was. I know. You can hear it now
You
too.
can.
And it sounded like you were living large. Polo anyone?
And that theme song was vibe, yo. So, fun fact, did you know that Bill Conti composed or helmed other notable theme songs for other popular TV and film works such as Cagney and Lacey, Falcon Crest, Dynasty?
Goodness, those songs match their respective shows wonderfully.
I agree. But Mr. Conti was responsible for overseeing musical scores for movies such as 80s favorites as Rocky and, as we mentioned, The Karate Kid.
Responsible.
He's back.
He's back.
So, as we had mentioned earlier, we actually talk a bit more about Bill Conti's smashing contributions in our Karate Kid Orchard Trek Retro. So if you're curious about all of that, please go check it out.
Yes, thank you for that, Coop. Fascinating stuff indeed. That music was most memorable. Another good point to share before we wrap up our discussion on lifestyles of the rich and famous this week that really made the show pop and come alive is the voiceover work.
Mhm.
We touched on this briefly at the start, but the voiceover work was that of the late David Perry. His voice came alive when narrating the introductions and the profiling segments, not involving the actual celebrity or big name. So, if it was just something of interest, like, say a castle, mansion, or island that they just wanted to familiarize the avid viewer with, this is when you'd hear David Perry's cool and suave voice.
Yeah. So although life should have more meaning than boasting a grandiose swimming pool, hot tub resort like Oasis in your backyard, custom made Porsche, or going on exotic vacations to places around the globe many have never heard of, um, it's still a guilty pleasure to indulge in occasionally if we get a chance. So, although it is a far cry easier now with having easy access to the internet, lifestyles of the rich and famous drove the point home that there's nothing wrong with having money. However, from the fragile perspective of the have nots, these high rollers obnoxiously exacerbate the gap or obvious differences on the fact that these very folks live to the point of excess, and their exclusive status proudly boasts that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was a most fun show from the retro 80s that we've been meaning to cover for some time now here at the Sweet Spot. Carmelicious wealth was to be had and found on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Anyway, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is what it is, and we were absolutely enamored by every facet of it. The consistently high ratings kept this show on the air for all the time it was on.
Truly, Kennard, people wanted to watch Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, which is why it was uber successful. If it was just the one percenters that watched their own show, then it probably wouldn't have lasted a single season.
No, they'd all be out there trying to outdo one another week after watching each other. Keeping up with the Rockefellers.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was a creator's dream come true in this life. The 80s era, better known as the Greed Decade, begged to exploit materialism and consumerism, which gave rise to the yuppie. Having said that, much of the population wanted to live vicariously through rich people and their excess, and they stopped at nothing to emulate them, and it's still going on today. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, so until next time, Orchard Archivers, remember champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Love what you heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. Our retro treks are striking a chord with listeners from minute one. To tune into future treks and to the Orchard Archives, meet up with us here next week. Same time, same place at the Sweet Spot. And it would mean the world to us if you could rate, leave us a shining review, and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and explore more iconic memories. Thank you.